Our third panelist, Eileen Burkholder, has been in education for 24 years. Her passion is curriculum and staff development. But in 2008, she left her job as a literacy coach to become an elementary principal at Garden Hill in La Mirada. Her personal journey with God has involved creating a public school with private school values. Her commitment to education and love for children is evident when you go on campus. You see students and staff hugging her as she walks across campus. Great relationships. Eileen's campus is Garden Hill Elementary, walking distance from here, and it's a laboratory school for our introduction to teaching students in the multiple subject teaching program. So Eileen, would you tell us just a little bit about your thoughts and how you're leading at your school?
Sure. It's been interesting, and we all have different cultures at our school, but I work at a very high-performing school. So that API and AYP has been very important to our community, and that pressure has kind of got us in high gear of how we're going to come out on top. I think we're a little competitive too, but on top, as we did with the API system that's in place now. So that in mind, we have looked at, the first thing we did is, in all honesty, we just started our journey last year. And when we got those Common Core standards, I put them in the hands of the teachers. So you've got to start there with just looking at the standards and comparing them with the California state standards and the Common Core standards. So if you haven't done that yet, that's probably a really good first step. Making sure you know your grade level, what was in place before, and then what's going to be expected of you now. Once we did that, I had all my teachers take the SBAC practice test. It's very important. If you have not done that, I would go home and do it today, because that is going to give you an idea of why the curriculum you're teaching is so, I believe, different than we've been doing in the past. My kids at my elementary school were excellent at A, B, C, and D, which was the multiple choice. It's no longer multiple choice, people. I mean, it's thinking. So for my kids, they're really gonna have to make that shift, one of the Common Core shifts. And I know they can do it, but it's a lot more critical thinking. They're gonna be having to give evidence, and a lot of it in 5th grade, they have to be able to sit in one setting and write 2 pages. 5th graders. So that's just something, the whole writing piece is very important. So if you haven't had your kids starting to write about text or their math or social studies or science, that's something I would be putting a journal in my kids' hands and start that writing right away as well, because everything requires a lot more writing and thinking. So for me, the SBAC practice test was very important. We also got to pilot the field test last year, my 4th graders, and what I did was I hired subs, and every one of my teachers, K-5, went in and took notes of what that test looked like. And so one really important thing that we found was there's a lot of listening that is expected by the students, and they also see videos, and they have to then answer questions about those videos, and not just one question. They have to write responses and compare and contrast, move the match things using the different technologies. So if you haven't gotten your students watching videos and then thinking about those, that's something you might want to try a few times in your units as well, or with your curriculum, because they have to watch things and write about them and answer questions about that. That's a really good tool to put into place. The next, after we had everybody go through and watch the kids take the test, We then have now been looking at the scope and sequence, which has been really hard, I want you to know, because the district has done a really good job of trying to put something in place, but we're in the process of looking and trying out. We're just trying out all kinds of different units and modules that match the Common Core. I did bring one, just sometimes people are at a loss of where to go, but I brought Ready Common Core. It's just one thing we're trying, but I'll leave it up here if you want to take a look. And it's not a whole program. It doesn't have homework and practice pages, but it is Common Core based. It's very inexpensive. I'm not selling this in any way, shape, or form, but sometimes we just don't have a place to start, and this was a place to start for us because it asked for a lot of writing responses. It asked for a lot of thinking and evidence-based thinking, and it's a different way to look at the math and the language arts. So I will leave these up here if anybody wants to take a look at that. But this is one of the things we're trying. We're also trying, like Sarah said, lots of the modules from Engage New York. So when you walk through my school, we're like those type A people. We used to have a scope and sequence that said, this is what we're gonna do unit 1, this is what we're gonna unit 2. But once AB 484 came along, it was like, woo, I'm not gonna be held accountable this year, but I already have this plan that was half California state standards, half Common Core. So now we've kind of put our state standards aside, and we're trying to put units that kind of have a scope and sequence together for, but yet we still have the old report card that's state standard, so it's, so we are, if you walked my campus right now, you would see kids trying on Ready Common Core, you would see them trying on the Engage New York modules, and you would see a difference because it's a lot hands-on, performance tasks. They're using the computers a lot. So those are the two main places that we're searching out our curriculum and instruction right now. And I know there's a lot, and I'm glad to hear there's 38 or 30 different math curriculums that we get a chance to look at, because right now we're just we have our hands on 2. So we're doing a lot of that curriculum exploring right now at my school so that we can get ready in April. Our window starts April 28th, and we also do, they mentioned a lot of the things, but I think we do iReady that also matches with, it's the same company, Curriculum and Associates, but it's all computer-based, which is nice, and it's adaptive like the SBAC test is. I'm really interested in, we're exploring too how to support those learners that have difficulty, whether they're on an IEP or they're just struggling. And it's interesting how we can support them, but I was looking at the different ways that you can support, and I'm not sure, maybe you can answer this, Carrick, but it did say that if you have identified students, you could actually, and you met with a team, you could read some of the assessment to them. And I can tell you that some of my special ed students, when we took that pilot test last year, it was heart-wrenching to watch. And there's times when I just had to tell them, type ABC so you can go to the next one, or type your name, because you can't, the pilot test, you couldn't go on to the next question unless you actually typed something into it. So I know that there's those kids, I just want you to keep those in the back of your mind. Go on the SBAC, on the CDE website, and look at the SBAC information on accommodations, because I think that's something we can look at and help some of those kids that we know are not going to be able to navigate some of those rigorous questions, and just to keep those kids in mind. I also have my teachers lead the staff development, but they go to the district, they get the information, they're coming back. We're working on close reading and launch, explore, summarize in math. Lots more problem solving you'll see going through our classrooms now. So those are just some of the ways that we've been getting ready at Garden Hill. And you can always come by. We invite you to see what we're doing.
Biola University offers a variety of biblically centered degree programs, ranging from business to ministry to the arts and sciences. Visit biola.edu to find out how Biola could make a difference in your life.